Ambassador Telvarin had served on the Galactic Council for 300 cycles, and in all that time he had witnessed 17 wars. Some lasted decades, grinding affairs of attrition where fleets maneuvered in elaborate dances across contested space. Others burned hot and fast, resolved through diplomatic intervention before too much blood stained the stars. But he had never seen anything like what the humans had just described.
"I'm sorry," he said, his translator struggling with the disbelief in his voice. "Could you repeat that?" The human ambassador, a middle-aged woman named Sarah Chen, looked at him with those unsettling predator eyes that her species possessed. "The Krix Dominion launched an unprovoked attack on our colony at New Osaka. They destroyed our orbital stations and killed 43,000 civilians. We have responded accordingly." Yes. Telvarin's scaled fingers drummed against the council table. "But you said the conflict is already over. The attack was only 6 standard days ago. Surely your fleets are still mobilizing?" Ambassador Chen's expression didn't change. "No, Ambassador. I said the threat has been eliminated. There is no conflict." Council member Jorah Vac of the Thrin Collective leaned forward, her crystalline features refracting the chamber's light. "Ambassador Chen, perhaps there is a translation error. The Krix Dominion controls 47 star systems. They maintain a fleet of over 3,000 warships. Are you suggesting that humanity has defeated them in less than a standard week?" "No, Council member," Chen replied calmly. "I'm saying we've eliminated them." The silence that fell over the council chamber was absolute. It was High Chancellor Mordeth who finally spoke, his ancient voice carrying the weight of authority that came from leading the council for over a century. "Ambassador Chen, I must ask you to clarify your statement. The language you're using is concerning." Sarah Chen stood, her movements precise and controlled. She pressed a button on her datapad, and the chamber's holographic display activated, showing a star map of Krix space, or what had been Krix space. 6 days ago, at 0400 hours Universal Standard Time, Krix forces attacked New Osaka. At 0407 hours, our defense forces engaged them and were overwhelmed. At 0412 hours, our colony administrator transmitted a distress signal. At 0413 hours, the signal was received by Earth Central Command. She paused, letting the timeline sink in. At 015 hours, the order was given. "What order?" Telvarin asked, though part of him didn't want to know the answer. "The elimination of the Krix Dominion as a strategic threat to human interests." The holographic display changed, showing timestamps and locations. Red dots bloomed across the map like flowers of fire. At 0600 hours, our first strike teams emerged from slip space at 17 priority targets within Krix space. These targets were identified as critical infrastructure, fleet command stations, primary shipyards, communications hubs, and the Krix Supreme Council's headquarters. Telvarin watched in growing horror as the red dots expanded. By 0800 hours, all priority targets had been neutralized. The Krix lost their entire high command structure, 73% of their active fleet, and all capacity for coordinated military response. Chen's voice remained level, professional, as if she were describing a routine shipping manifest rather than wholesale destruction. By 1200 hours, our second wave had eliminated all remaining military installations, orbital defense platforms, and war production facilities across all 47 Krix systems. "That's impossible," Joravec breathed. "The distances alone, the coordination required." By 1800 hours, Chen continued as if she hadn't been interrupted. Our humanitarian ships arrived at the 15 inhabited Crix worlds. We provided medical assistance, food, and temporary shelter for civilians displaced by the destruction of military targets. Our engineers have already begun helping them rebuild civilian infrastructure.
"You're saying," High Chancellor Mordeth said slowly, "that in less than one planetary rotation, humanity destroyed the military capacity of an entire interstellar nation spanning 47 systems?"
Yes, High Chancellor. But Telvarin struggled to form words. The casualties, the destruction. For the first time, something flickered in Ambassador Chen's eyes. Anger? Sorrow? Approximately 73 million Crix military personnel were killed in the operation. Civilian casualties were minimal. Our preliminary estimates suggest fewer than 10,000, primarily due to proximity to military targets despite our warning broadcasts.
"Warning broadcasts?" Joravek's voice had risen in pitch. "You warned them?"
Of course. 15 minutes before each strike, we transmitted emergency evacuation warnings on all civilian channels. Most civilians had time to reach safe distance. Chen's expression hardened. "We are not monsters, Council Member. We don't target civilians."
"Just entire civilizations,"
someone muttered from the back of the chamber. Chen's head snapped toward the speaker, a delegate from the Paxuri Concordat. "Not civilizations, delegate, threats. The Crix military attacked our people without provocation or declaration. They murdered 43,000 men, women, and children. We responded by eliminating their capacity to do so again." "This is butchery!" The Paxuri delegate stood, his feathers ruffled in agitation. "You've committed genocide!"
"No." Chen's voice cut like a blade. "Genocide is the deliberate extermination of a people. The Crix people still exist. Their cultures, their families, their societies, all intact. What no longer exists is their ability to project military force. What no longer exists is their war machine."
She pressed another button, and the display changed to show footage of Crix civilians receiving aid from human medical teams. Human engineers working alongside Crix technicians to restore power grids. Human ships delivering food and supplies. We have informed the Crix civilian government, which we took care not to harm, that humanity has no territorial ambitions in their space. We've offered them a non-aggression pact and technical assistance. We've even offered to help them build a defensive fleet, provided it remains purely defensive and under Council oversight. "You've conquered them without occupying them," Mordeth observed. "We haven't conquered anyone. We've neutralized a threat." Telvarin felt his secondary hearts racing. In his 300 cycles, he'd developed a sense for danger, for moments when the galaxy shifted on its axis. This was one of those moments. "Ambassador Chen," he said carefully, How is such a thing even possible? The logistics alone." For the first time, Chen smiled. It was not a comforting expression. "Ambassador Telvarin, humanity has been preparing for interstellar conflict since before we left our home system. We studied every war in Council records. We analyzed every conflict, every tactical doctrine, every strategic approach used by every species in known space." She began pacing, her hands clasped behind her back. "And we noticed something interesting. Every species in the Council wages war the same way. You build up forces, you engage in fleet actions, you maneuver for territorial control. You wage wars of attrition, trading ships and lives until one side capitulates or negotiates. That is how war works,"
Joravec said. "How else would you?"
"You wage war," Chen interrupted, "like it's a game with rules. Like it's a sporting match where both sides take the field and engage until someone scores enough points to win."
"And humans don't?" Mordeth asked.
"No, High Chancellor, we don't." She stopped pacing and faced the council. "When humanity goes to war, we don't seek to defeat our enemy. We seek to eliminate their capacity to threaten us. Permanently, efficiently, completely." She pulled up another display, this one showing a map of Sol System, humanity's home. For most of our history, we were confined to one planet. A small, fragile world where we competed with each other for resources. We fought thousands of wars. We developed strategies, tactics, and doctrines refined through millennia of conflict. We learned how to wage total war. Telvarin had read about human history. He'd found it disturbing then, it was terrifying now. "When we finally achieved interstellar flight," Chen continued, "our military theorists asked themselves a question. How do we translate our experience to a three-dimensional battlefield spanning light years? The answer was simple. We don't fight in space. We don't wage traditional wars. Instead, we identify critical nodes, command structures, production facilities, logistics hubs, and we eliminate them, simultaneously, overwhelmingly, before the enemy can respond." "Decapitation strikes," Mordeth said quietly. "Systematic dismantlement," Chen corrected. "We don't just cut off the head and hope the body dies. We identify every vital organ and remove them all at once." "And if the enemy has dispersed their vital systems," Joravec asked, "if they have redundancies?" Chen's smile widened slightly. "Then we eliminate those too. Our intelligence networks are thorough, Council Member, very thorough." The implications hung in the air like a poison cloud. Telvarin thought about his own people's military installations, their fleet command, their production centers. How many did humanity already know about? How long would they last if humanity decided they were a threat? "This is madness," the Paxori delegate said. "You're talking about a doctrine of overwhelming destruction. What you're describing is—" "Effective," Chen finished. "Efficient. And most importantly, it saves lives in the long run." "Saves lives?" The delegate's voice cracked. "You killed 73 million Kricks!" "Yes," Chen's voice went cold. "We did. And if we'd fought a conventional war? If we'd engaged in the kind of prolonged conflict that the Council considers civilized? Hundreds of millions would have died. Billions, perhaps, if the war dragged on for decades, as so many Council conflicts do. Entire planets might have been bombarded, whole ecosystems destroyed." She pulled up comparative data from previous Council wars. The numbers were damning. The Thrin-Vakesh War lasted 42 years and killed an estimated 3 billion people. The Kaltor Uprising lasted 16 years and resulted in the complete destruction of 2 habitable worlds. The border wars between the Paxuri and the Zen Collective have been ongoing for 70 years and show no signs of resolution. She turned back to face them. "We eliminated the Kricks' military threat in less than a day. Yes, 73 million died, but the war is over. No prolonged conflict, no years of grinding attrition, no generations growing up knowing nothing but war. It's done." "But the precedent," Mordeth said softly. "Ambassador, surely you understand the precedent this sets. If every species adopted your approach—" "Then wars would be shorter," Chen said. "More brutal in the moment, perhaps, but shorter. And maybe, just maybe, species would think twice before starting them." Telvarin felt a chill run down his spine. "You're suggesting that the threat of total destruction would serve as a deterrent?"
I'm saying it already has, Ambassador. How many times has the Council intervened in conflicts, negotiated ceasefires, arranged peace talks? How many times have those peace talks failed and the wars resumed? How many times have aggressors calculated that they could gain more through military action than through diplomacy because they believed they could win or at least survive a conventional war? She leaned forward, placing her hands on the council table. The Cricks attacked us because they thought they could. They calculated that humanity was a young species, new to the interstellar community, without the military traditions or capacity to respond effectively. They thought wrong.
And now? Joravec asked. What happens now?
Now, Chen straightened. The galaxy knows what happens when you attack humanity. Not a war, not a prolonged conflict. Elimination, swift, total, and irreversible.
You can't possibly have the resources to do this to every potential threat, the Paxuri delegate protested. The Cricks were one nation. There are hundreds of species in the Council, dozens of major powers.
You're right, Chen agreed. We can't fight everyone at once. We don't want to fight anyone. But ask yourself, Delegate, do you want to test whether we can do to your people what we did to the Cricks? Do you feel confident in your intelligence assessments of human military capacity? The Cricks did.
The silence that followed was profound. High Chancellor Mordeth finally spoke, his voice grave. Ambassador Chen, the Council will need to discuss this situation. The precedent it sets, the implications for galactic security.
Of course, High Chancellor. But while you discuss, please remember one thing. Humanity did not start this conflict. We were attacked. Our people were murdered, and we responded. Every species in this chamber would have responded. The only difference is that our response was effective.
Too effective, perhaps, Mordeth said.
Is there such a thing, High Chancellor? When someone threatens your people, when they kill your civilians, is there such a thing as being too effective in protecting them?
Mordeth didn't answer.
Humanity requests only what we've always requested, Chen continued. Peace, trade, cooperation. We have no territorial ambitions. We don't seek to dominate the Council or impose our will on others. But we will not be attacked with impunity. We will not allow our people to be slaughtered while we engage in lengthy, honorable wars that satisfy some cosmic sense of fair play. She gathered her datapads. The Council is welcome to condemn our actions. You're welcome to debate the ethics and the precedent. But while you do, remember that 43,000 humans are still dead, killed without warning or provocation. And remember that the Cricks military that killed them no longer exists to threaten anyone else.
You're not concerned about Council sanctions? Joravec asked.
Chen paused at the chamber door. What sanctions, Council member? Trade embargo? The Cricks attacked us and we defended ourselves. Military intervention? I invite the Council to consider carefully whether that would be wise. Or perhaps you'll simply condemn us in a strongly worded resolution. She left without waiting for an answer. The Council chamber erupted in chaos the moment the door closed behind her. In the observation gallery overlooking the Council chamber, two figures watched the proceedings through privacy-shielded glass. "Well," said Ambassador Kren of the Zen Collective, his insectoid features unreadable. "That was instructive." His companion, Trade Minister Velkoth of the Thrin, let out a sound that might have been a laugh. Instructive? It was terrifying. Did you review the tactical data she provided?
I did.
And I immediately sent a message to our military command instructing them to update their assessment of human capabilities.
I also suggested we review all current diplomatic initiatives to ensure we have no outstanding disputes with humanity. Wise, Velkoth agreed. I've already begun drafting a trade agreement proposal. If humans can move fleets that quickly, coordinate strikes across that many systems simultaneously, and gather intelligence that comprehensive, I want them as friends, not enemies. Kren turned from the window. Do you think it's true? That they can actually do what she claimed? The Krix military is gone, Velkoth pointed out. That much is verifiable. Multiple independent sources have confirmed it. Every major Krix military installation destroyed or captured. Their entire command structure eliminated. Their shipyards offline. All within a single day. It could have been luck. Perfect planning. Resources committed over years. And ready to deploy within 7 minutes of receiving a distress call? Velkoth's crystalline features refracted his skepticism. No, my friend, this was not a hastily prepared response. This was a contingency plan, one of probably thousands they have prepared. Kren felt the weight of that assessment. You're suggesting that humanity has detailed battle plans for engagement with every major power in the Council? I'm suggesting that humanity has detailed battle plans for every power in the Council, major or minor, and the intelligence infrastructure to keep those plans updated, and the force projection capability to execute them if necessary. That's the most sensible approach for a species entering a galaxy full of potential threats? Velkoth finished. Yes, it is. We've all been playing by rules we established millennia ago. Rules about civilized warfare and honorable conduct. Humanity looked at those rules and asked themselves a simple question. Why? Why fight fair when you can fight to win? Kren murmured. Exactly. And they're not wrong, are they? Look at the Pax Yuri and your people. 70 years of border skirmishes, thousands of ships destroyed, millions of lives lost. And for what? Neither side will commit to total war because the cost would be too high. But neither side will negotiate a lasting peace because both believe they can still gain an advantage. It's madness. Kern couldn't argue. The border wars had consumed resources and lives for 3 generations, a slow bleeding that both sides endured because the alternative, total war, was unthinkable. Humanity has made it thinkable again, he said softly. Yes, but they've also made it shorter. If the Krix conflict had been conventional, how long would it have lasted? Kren considered. The Krix were a significant power, well-armed, strategically positioned. If humanity had fought conventionally, years, decades, perhaps. And the casualties? Hundreds of millions at least. Instead, it lasted less than a day. 73 million dead, yes, but the war is over. Completely. Definitively. The Krix can rebuild their civilian society. They can focus on healing, on moving forward, not on sustaining a war machine for decades. You're defending them, Kren observed. I'm recognizing efficiency when I see it, and asking myself uncomfortable questions about why the rest of us don't employ similar tactics. Because it's barbaric. Is it? Or is it barbaric to let wars drag on for generations, consuming lives and resources in a slow, grinding horror, all because we're too civilized to end them quickly? Kren didn't have an answer for that. Below them, the council chamber had descended into argument. Delegates were shouting, demanding humanity be censured, sanctioned, expelled from the council. Others were calling for calm, for measured responses, for investigation. High Chancellor Mordeth sat in the center of it all, saying nothing, his ancient eyes thoughtful. "What do you think he'll do?" Velkoth asked. "Nothing," Kren said. "What can he do? Humanity defended itself from unprovoked attack. They violated no treaties, broke no council laws. Their methods were brutal but effective. And crucially, they're not asking for anything. They're not demanding territory, reparations, or concessions. They eliminated a threat, and now they're helping the Cricks rebuild.
They're demonstrating mercy, Velkoth observed, showing that their brutality has limits. Or demonstrating that they can afford to be merciful because they're not threatened by the Cricks anymore, at all. Also terrifying.
Yes.
They watched in silence for a while longer as the council debated, argued, and ultimately came to no conclusion. Finally, Kren turned to leave.
"Where are you going?" Velkoth asked.
"To send another message to my government. The border wars with the Pakshuri end today. I'm recommending we accept their last peace proposal, whatever the terms."
"Because of humanity?"
"Because," Kren said carefully, "I don't want to give humanity a reason to notice our conflict. I don't want them deciding that our war is a threat to galactic stability. I don't want to be eliminated." Velkoth nodded slowly. "I'll recommend the Thryn Collective do the same with our outstanding disputes. Better to negotiate from a position of peace than find out what humanity considers a threat." 3 cycles later, Ambassador Talvarin sat in his private office reviewing reports. The Gen Paksuri border wars had ended with a comprehensive peace treaty. 7 other ongoing conflicts had similarly resolved, as if the entire galaxy had suddenly decided peace was preferable to war. Trade missions to humanity had increased by 300%. Defense budgets across the Council had been revised, with most species increasing funding for intelligence and rapid response capabilities rather than traditional fleet expansion. And the Cricks? They were rebuilding. Human engineers were still there, helping to restore infrastructure. Human medical teams still tended to the wounded. Human diplomats had negotiated a surprisingly generous trade agreement that gave the Cricks preferential access to human markets. It was, Talvarin had to admit, masterful. Humanity had demonstrated overwhelming force, then immediately demonstrated restraint and generosity. They'd shown they could destroy a civilization, then shown they had no desire to do so. They'd made themselves the most feared military power in known space, while simultaneously making themselves attractive allies and partners. His desk chimed. "Ambassador Chen is here to see you, sir." Talvarin's scales rippled with surprise. "Send her in." Sarah Chen entered, looking as calm and composed as ever. She sat without being invited, a human habit that Talvarin had learned to accept. "Ambassador," he greeted, "what brings you to my office?" "Curiosity," Chen said. "The council session 3 days ago was contentious. I wanted to gauge the temperature, so to speak." "You want to know if the council is going to take action against humanity." "I want to know if I should prepare for another demonstration of human military capability," Chen corrected. "I'd rather not. They're expensive, and despite what some seem to think, we don't enjoy killing." Talvarin studied her. "You're serious? You would do it again?" "If attacked? Yes, without hesitation." She leaned back in her chair. "Ambassador, I want to be clear about something, because I think it's been lost in all the hand-wringing about human brutality. We don't want to fight. We don't want to conquer. We want to trade, explore, and coexist peacefully. But we will not be victims. We will not watch our people die while we engage in wars designed to be survivable rather than winnable. When humanity commits to military action, we commit completely. We end threats, we don't manage them." That philosophy terrifies most of the council. "I know," Chen said,
And honestly, that's not entirely a bad thing. Fear can be a powerful motivator for peace, or for preemptive action against a perceived threat. Chen's expression hardened. If the Council decides humanity is too dangerous to exist, they're welcome to try. But they should understand that we've planned for that contingency too. Every military in Council space should ask themselves, do we know where all of humanity's assets are? Are we confident in our intelligence? Are we sure we can eliminate the threat before they respond? Because we only need 7 minutes. 7 minutes. The time between the distress call from New Osaka and the order to eliminate the Krix Dominion.
You've made your point, Ambassador, Telvarin said quietly.
Have I? Because I'm not trying to threaten anyone. I'm trying to explain. Humanity has a saying, walk softly and carry a big stick. We're trying to do that. We're being good neighbors, trading partners, cooperative council members. But everyone needs to understand that the stick exists and we know how to use it. And if everyone accepts this, if the galaxy adapts to humanity's unique approach to conflict, then maybe wars become shorter, Chen said. Maybe civilizations think twice before starting them. Maybe the cost-benefit analysis of military aggression changes when you know the response won't be a lengthy war you might survive, but an immediate elimination of your military capacity. Deterrence through overwhelming force. Deterrence through demonstrated capability and will to use it, Chen corrected. The Krix learned what happens when you attack humanity. Everyone else gets to learn from their example without paying the price themselves. That seems fair to me. Telvarin's translator probably couldn't convey his mixture of respect and fear. You've changed the galaxy, Ambassador. We've changed how the galaxy thinks about conflict, Chen agreed. Whether that's for better or worse, I suppose history will judge. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. Ambassador Telvarin, off the record? Yes. Humanity doesn't want to be the galaxy's police force. We don't want to be the enforcers of peace or the arbiters of justice. We just want to live our lives, raise our children, and explore the stars. But we've learned, through bloody history, that peace only exists when those who would disturb it understand the cost of doing so. You want to be left alone. We want mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and the assurance that if someone decides our people are acceptable targets, there will be consequences, immediate, comprehensive, and irreversible consequences. After she left, Telvarin sat in silence for a long time, thinking about human history, about a species that had fought itself for millennia, developing strategies and tactics refined through countless conflicts, about a people who had looked at the stars and prepared for threats before they even encountered them, about a civilization that didn't wage wars because they'd learned something that most species never did. Wars were survivable, containable, manageable. But elimination? Elimination was final. And finality, Telvarin was learning, was a powerful deterrent. His desk chimed again. Sir, you have 7 requests for meetings from various council members. They all want to discuss improving relations with humanity. Telvarin allowed himself a small smile. I'll bet they do. Schedule them. The galaxy was learning. Humanity didn't wage wars. They eliminated threats. And in that distinction lay a new reality that every species in council space would have to accept. The price of aggression wasn't war anymore. It was extinction. Not of civilizations, perhaps. Not of peoples or cultures. But of the capacity to threaten others? That extinction was swift, total, and terrifyingly efficient. The age of prolonged, honorable warfare was over. Humanity had seen to that. And the galaxy would never be quite the same.